In your head, Rory. Welcome to the Links Golf Club podcast. We are chuffed here over here in Nashville, Tennessee, and all parts around the world. We're going to talk about a ton of great stuff today. We're going to recap the Ryder Cup. We have a very special guest Fxnction, who's an investor, entrepreneur, and more recently a live golf streamer. And we're going to talk about live golf streaming. You can find him over on the X Everything app, Twitter, whatever. Fxnction, great follow, absolutely worth it. But I'm Gregory. I'm joined by Cooper, Bossie, and Fxnction. Let's bring the guys in, fellas. How you feeling today?
Great, brother. Great, brother. Stoked to be here. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, that intro was slamming. I mean,
yeah.
The Euro bus ride looked like the place to be in the whole world this week. That was lit.
They deserve it. You come over here, beat our ass. You get to stunt on anything you want if you come over and win an away Ryder Cup. We're definitely going to talk about that. Let's get into a little house read here. We're going to talk about, the Gemini Credit Card. You can earn 10% back in crypto on golf course purchases through September 30th, which is already passed. Now I'm realizing as I read this, but don't fret. It is okay because it's still an absolutely great card to have if you're a golfer. And today's podcast is sponsored by the Gemini Credit Card, the only instant crypto rewards credit card, and hands down one of the best credit cards if you love golf. The way this works is really awesome. You have the crypto credit card. You can get it in orange. You can get it in black. It's metal. It's a sweet looking card. You can also have it directly on your phone the second you sign up. But once you make any purchases, you can cryptocurrency you want to earn your rewards back in, and it's an instant payoff. So the second you make a purchase, you see it in your transaction list, and you get that crypto back, and it's your choice of what to have. You can get, outside of golf, you can get 4% back on transportation, 3% back on dining, 2% back on groceries, and 1% back on everything else in whatever cryptocurrency they support. The Gemini Credit Card is an easy way for you to get exposure to Bitcoin or other crypto without ever having to buy it. As Chris always says, it's like a smarter way to dollar cost average. It just happens while you buy stuff. Anyway, you swipe your card like you would normally and earn Bitcoin back instead of points or miles. I actually, for the segment here, Cooper, I haven't made any purchases on it in the last week, which is weird. Usually I'm buying burritos, I'm playing golf. I looked at the transaction history, had nothing. Anything interesting from you that you earned Bitcoin on this past week?
Played at a course away from my home course, so that's always a good time to spend $1 or $2 on the card and get the rewards back. The other great thing on it is it's about to be October, right? So all of those earnings back in crypto that I've had over the past year, those are about to, I think, be pretty good. We'll get some insights on the market and everything else later with Fxnction here, but I think that all those rewards over the summer, especially the money back on golf, hopefully going into Q4 here is going to be a nice reward.
For sure. What a great situation. Bitcoin rewards earned and held for 1 year on the Gemini Credit Card have appreciated 176% on average, not 175, not 174, 176% on average. You're investing as you spend. It is truly a no-brainer. All right, Cooper, before we bring Fxnction in here and get to know him a little bit, I think you have some announcements you want to make as well.
Yes, sir. Lots of stuff going on with links as always. Best events in the game. We have Tree Farm coming up. There are still spots available. Top 100 course, brand new course down there in South Carolina, not too far from Augusta National. So some great terrain. And this event is sponsored by Golf Breaks. They've been a links partner for a while, but they are putting up a $2,000 voucher as a grand prize for the event. So you can get $2,000 towards an epic golf vacation. The way it works with them is you just show up with your clubs, get on the plane. They take care of the rest, all your transportation, food, lodging, tea times. It's just a great deal from our friends at Golf Breaks. And every attendee at the event is going to get a $200 voucher towards a Golf Breaks trip. So if you're looking to travel for golf, get away this winter, or in 2026 and see the Tree Farm, this is a great opportunity to combine all of that and get your golf travel on with our friends at Golf Breaks and the last signature event of the season. So it's going to be an overnight 2-day stay, November 23rd and 24th. The hospitality there looks amazing. So check that out. Drop the link in the comments here. As always, our events page is popping. We're also going to have some content coming out of the event that they're going to support, but that is a great one we have coming up. All of our events are available at linkstat.io/events. The other one is our Ryder Cup video is now live. Similar to Team USA, no spoilers there. Our team did not quite prevail at the Spey Bay Ryder Cup, but you can watch all of the action that took place at our course in Scotland on our YouTube page. If you're not already watching there, youtube.com/linksgolfofficial. Check it all out. And we are doing a Links Millionaire Drawing today. So if you have 1 million Links coin, or if you don't, you still have time to get into the Discord, verify your wallet, and we're going to do a drawing for some prizes for those of you who have stacked your golf coins. It's going to be a good one today. So tune in for that. That'll be this afternoon in the Links Discord. We'll see you all there.
All right. Well, let's get to know Fxnction here a little bit before we get into both the Ryder Cup recap, and then we're also going to talk to Fxnction about streaming. But before we do that, we're going to hear about your take on the Ryder Cup as well, Fxnction. So why don't you tell the people who you are, give a little intro so we can get to know you.
What's up, everybody? My name on Twitter is Fxnction. You guys can call me Michael if you want to throughout this podcast. But I'm a crypto guy. I've been doing crypto for 7-8 years, nonstop since 2017. End of 2017, got in. Started taking a public direction and have pretty much touched every sector of the industry, from marketing to advisory to influencer to whatever you might want to call it. But before all that, man, I was a golfer. I've been playing golf since I was about 6 years old. I was extremely, extremely competitive in golf as a junior. It was essentially my life, like most people, and not by like force, by choice, fully by choice. I loved golf. I still love golf. And most people during summer when they're in high school would go hang out with their buddies at the lake or go down to the beach, because I'm in California, and I would be at the golf course at 8 a.m. until it got dark, playing 18 and practicing, because I wanted to be the best. And eventually got to like college years, or late high school, early college, and realized there was much more to life. There was entrepreneurship and business, and also parties and girls. And so left the competitive edge behind, and or at least like the competitive aspect behind for a bit, and learned about new aspects of life, had fun in college, started making businesses, but always played golf, always loved golf, and always had it in my side pocket. And so getting into crypto has always been fun getting into crypto in 2017 was specifically fun because when I did, I met a whole bunch of people who were also into golf. Shout out Birch, shout out Gunny, like a lot of those guys who are really Solana OGs who have helped build the culture of Solana, have built products on Solana, and even before Solana was really popular. They're big golfers. And so we teed it up. I teed it up a couple of times in Singapore with a couple of those guys and other guys. And long story short, always kept golf around. When Pump Fun live streaming became big a couple weeks ago and like really popular, I said, I want to do a token. I want to do a live stream. I think it'd be fun, but I also don't want to just like sit in front of my computer and stream new pairs and trading, because all of it's so volatile. Some days I'm really, really, really good, and some days I'm absolute fucking dog shit. I want to stream something that nobody else has done. And so I saw some girls streaming in Egypt one day, and everybody was really liking it because it was unique and different. I saw a guy streaming rebuilding his camper van, and he made like a bunch of money in creator fees, and he was a nobody. And I was like, what am I good at that would be unique and different? And so golf is that's how the birdie stream started. So we started streaming golf on Pump Fun, and man, it's turning into something so much bigger than I could ever even really imagine. I'm excited to share more.
It's awesome. And it's a perfect like intersection of topics that our listeners and viewers care about, right? We got crypto and golf, and like finding a way to do something super different and interesting in golf. I can't wait to hear more about it. I think let's start talking about the Ryder Cup. Man, I am like pretty torn because I'm extremely disappointed in not winning, right? Like I'm a US fan, but I'm also really excited for Europe. Like at the end of the day, they just like, there's so much narration and storylines about all of this and Monday morning quarterbacking and everything else. But just the end of the day, watching the Europeans celebrate and how much it means to them, like, frankly, they care more. Like, I maybe that didn't end up mattering because obviously the European side is incredibly talented. You can look at the strokes gain data and how they performed, but like, I'm really excited for them, like, especially to see Rory call a shot and say, like, we are going to win at Bethpage, and then to back it up. That's some sportsman stuff, right? That's like, we talk about golf, we talk about sports, like that's being an athlete and that's calling a shot. So obviously, if you didn't pay attention to this, you should already know Europe won 15-13. It's the first win on U.S. soil since 2012. Yeah, Roy called it. 4 of the 5 top 5 players in stroke gain were European. 5 of the 6 bottom were U.S. 6 of the top 10 tee to green were U.S., but 7 of the top 10 were putting. And that really kind of is the simplest way to tell what happened. At the end of the day, we'll talk about course setup. I have a lot of thoughts there, but like, at the end of the day, Europe didn't have to play that great tee to green. They putted amazingly on Friday and Saturday. I think they kind of tuckered out by Sunday. United States made a absolute bull run that was awesome to watch. But honestly, on Monday, looking back at it, makes me more angry because if they just would have played a little bit better on Friday and Saturday, we would have won. So the way that it kind of played out, and we'll bring y'all in to get your thoughts here. At the end of Friday morning foursomes, it was 3-1 Europe. 2.5, 1.5 Friday afternoon four ball, which is a little bit closer. You're kind of starting to say, like, okay, let's get everything out on Friday and Saturday. We're going to come back. That did not happen. Spoiler alert. 3-1 Europe Saturday morning foursomes. 3-1 Saturday afternoon four ball. That was sending out Bryson and Scotty in the same group, which seemed like just like an absolute overreaction from Keegan. But, you know, he felt like he had to get his point. They ended up getting their asses kicked anyway, which then completely defeated the purpose of that strategy. But going into Sunday singles, US was down 11.5 to 4.5, which would have been the biggest comeback, not just like in Ryder Cup history, but probably the biggest comeback in like any sport history. Like, if you think of the ones, y'all can probably remember, like 23-3 or 21-3, whatever it was, 28-3, whatever the Patriots Atlanta Super Bowl, that was a big one. But I feel like this one was even less likely. The Warriors blew a 3-1 lead, but they had a 0.05% chance of winning at 2:20 p.m. on Sunday. And then like things really picked up, and like we'll talk about how that felt to watch. But they kind of had a chance, and then at the end of the day, Europe just didn't need that many points. They ended up getting a half with Bryson, which felt like a big deal because he came back from 5 down. But then Henley, hit an absolutely amazing shot and then left the putt short. Lowry made his, and that was enough for Europe to retain the cup. We'll talk about the envelope and all that stuff. But guys, just like, give me your high-level impressions. Just I want to make sure everyone sort of was abreast of what happened if they didn't watch it. But from y'all, high-level impressions, things that stood out to you after watching all weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think the gameplay, the golf was really, really entertaining, at least at the very beginning and the very end. It felt like a blowout in the middle, but like I was worried that Sunday I wasn't going to want to watch anything. But the US team actually came back and made it really interesting, which, despite not getting the victory, it was great to watch. I was jumping up and down, watching JT's putt on 18 at Bethpage, those matches coming down to, the 18th hole and making some putts in front of that crowd. You couldn't ask for a better dramatic thing. And it felt like the possibility of that epic comeback was on the table. So like in terms of Ryder Cups, I think it was really good. And the final score does not reflect how we felt the vast majority of the weekend. But I do think that final showing was one of the more epic, sports experiences, despite the fact that we didn't pull it off. Obviously would have really loved for another couple of US putts to drop, and shout out to Oberg for sealing a full point for his team. The only winner on Sunday singles for Team Europe. Was not expecting Team US to come back and do that, but they did show up and, made it at least competitive.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was just like entertaining golf. The thing that I noticed was just like, the US hits a good shot. They're fucking 5 feet from the hole, got an easy birdie putt. Guess what? Europe comes up, they're 3 feet from the hole, and vice versa, just all day, back to back to back. So it just ended up being really, really entertaining. even though we didn't get the W, that's fine by me. I thought it was like some of the most entertaining golf I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I think to your point about like the shots like to the green, I want to like the thing that I'm most frustrated about with this Ryder Cup is, in the Ryder Cup, you get home field advantage every 4 years. And that home field advantage traditionally has mattered a lot. It's very, very hard to win away. And there's a handful of reasons for that. You could think about the travel as one of those, being jet lagged, everything else. Some of that comes down to preparation. Europe was here for 2 weeks and not allowed to leave the Eastern time zone to make sure that they were acclimated to that. US doesn't do that. The second thing is obviously the fans, which we'll talk about. Bethpage, New York fans, that was like a key storyline coming up. Like, oh, the Europeans aren't going to be able to handle the big, bad New York fans. And then the third, though, and the one that I'm most mad about is you get to set the course up however you want. You get complete freedom to choose how you set the course up, to play to your strengths and to accentuate their weaknesses. And we just punted on that for some reason. Like someone asked about it at Keegan in the presser, and he was like, "Yeah, it's a miss. If I could have that one back, I would." Like, yeah, no shit, dog. Like that, I cannot believe that they made it a situation in which it didn't matter where you drove the ball. Like tee to green, the United States team outdrove Europe significantly. You'd watch just like eye test, you're watching it. US is in the middle of the fairway, Europe's over in the rough. Didn't matter because the greens were soft and you could hit whatever you wanted to and hold the green. That's not how Bethpage is supposed to work, right? Bethpage is supposed to work in, you have to be accurate off the tee, you have to be in the fairway, or you ain't getting on the green. And they completely removed that. So like, obviously everyone's pissed at Morikawa. It's not Morikawa's fault really, because he's an elite iron player. And he was able, like, that was completely destroyed because any member of Europe was able to basically hit the same iron shots that he was, because it's just, Top Golf. You're just hitting it onto the green. It stays exactly there. And then big credit to Europe for making a bunch of putts on Friday and Saturday that we didn't, right? But I just don't understand why they made it so easy to play to Europe's strength when the whole reason why you have a home Ryder Cup is to set it up in a way that plays to your team's strengths, and you just didn't. Like that to me is the biggest miss and the thing that I'm most frustrated about, and have no confidence that it'll change at Hazeltine in 4 years. But
yeah, Mike, have you played Bethpage Black by any chance? No, I mean
it's on my list. I've done.
The lore is it's supposed to be so dense off the fairway that you have to punch out, right, and take your medicine at Bethpage Black, and that was eliminated from this tournament. Which I think absolutely hurt the team. It didn't do Bethpage any favors as a venue, right, for its lore and its status in the pantheon of American golf. But I think it really did, like you said, Greg, have a bad outcome on the US's chances to win this cup.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't make any sense that like the one thing that you can control is that you can't control Europe making putts, you can't control us missing putts, you can't control weather, but like it's not like there was so much rain leading up to this that like they couldn't have avoided this. I don't think Bethpage has any sort of sub air system. Like, the Masters, it rains in the morning and it's completely dry by the time people tee off. I don't think Bethpage has that, but man, is it frustrating looking back at it. I want to ask y'all, like, on the broadcast, obviously a big storyline was New York fans. How do you think that played out? Obviously, like, it wasn't enough to get a win, but like there was a lot of talk about it. Some people say that it was too much. Some people say that they weren't hype enough. Like, where do y'all land on the New York effect this tournament?
Yeah. I mean, I see some folks in the chat some Links members who were at the tournament. So chime in the chat. Let us know like what your experience was there. What did you hear? What did you not? Like we have eyes on the ground. From what I read in our Discord, there were a couple of bad apples who, I think the media picked up on and made it part of the narrative. But that doesn't mean that it wasn't a real effect on the players, on the broadcast, on the actual experience. And I think, golf is supposed to not be that. I don't think everyone needs to walk around wearing, a tie and a jacket and have their pinky in the air while they sip their tea. But there's some level of decorum and like maybe creativity with the way that you cheer that shouldn't just be like base obscenities. that can
Heard
like
some wild shit for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, some of the things that people are saying out there is just inappropriate, right? And you saw people getting kicked out and pointed out by members of both teams for being over the line, and that's kind of unacceptable. I think the event was amped up and hyped up, and it is New York, but as a golf event, it shouldn't be like that, and perhaps it shouldn't be the waste management, right? Like it should maybe be a little bit more of a classy kind of outing. I don't know, Function. What did you hear on the broadcast? What was your takeaway on some of the take?
I heard some people yelling some wild shit. I don't know. I think like it's just like an evolution of the times in general. Like obviously we'd all like people to act a certain way and appropriately, like on the golf course, and we'd also like them to do that in society. And sometimes they don't. A lot of the times they don't. And so I think it's just kind of like an evolution of the times, and like, if anything, it just adds like it's always been a unique element to the game, because I remember like even last week now my whole algorithm's golf again, since I posted a few clips, and so a clip of Tiger came up, and it was him having to stop all of his down swings because of hecklers throughout the years, like 5 or 6 times, and so it's always been kind of a part of the game. It's not something that like is really, well, it's always been a part of like the new version of the game, I should say, because the old version of the game, it's not part of it all. But it's something that we just kind of have to adapt to as golf becomes more popular. If like anything, it's kind of a sign that, like, in my opinion, it's a good sign, because you don't want people like getting heckled or rallied, but you want people that are excited enough about the game and showing up at events like that to be able to like produce better numbers as well as just make golf more popular. I mean, I remember when I was golfing in high school, bro, or even before, like middle school and high school, was like the most uncool thing possible. You know what I mean? Now all the guys that played football in high school are like, damn, I wish I played golf when fucking I was in high school. I'd be so much better now.
End up. Yeah.
Not to call you guys out, but
it means a lot, man. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't know you that well. You already know. It's but I think you're right. Like, I think there's a line that I think both of you have said is like one of the things is like if we want to think of these golfers as athletes, they're going to have to deal with this kind of stuff, right? And that's like, who dealt with it better than Rory? I mean, Rory got like, it seems like people said some really, really, really unacceptable stuff to Rory. His family, I think his wife got a bottle thrown at her or something, like that kind of stuff, just like off the table, needs to be dealt with. Remove those fans. They don't deserve to be there. But like, and then there's talking in his backswing and everything else. But like the very famous moment that's been covered all over the place is when, like, the moment where I've always liked Rory, but the moment I was like, yeah, like Europe's just built different now. Like the US just doesn't have that dog in them. When he turned around, he's like, shut the fuck up. And then proceeded to hit a shot to like 4 feet. And like, that's what an athlete does, right? Like that's what Jordan did. That's what, like that's what an athlete does, is like in the face of insurmountable odds, performance dictates the outcome. And that to me was super interesting. And then also, like, we'll talk about MVPs, but like I think the person that I came away being the most like pleased with was Shane Lowry, because he was just always there. Like, he didn't play great golf, but he was always with Rory to like kind of shield him from all this stuff that was happening. But like, by the same token, the last thing I'll say on this front is, like, Saturday, I was pretty worried Saturday because it was bleak and people were bored. And that's when I think like the worst stuff really came out. Like Sunday, maybe there was more, but like Saturday, like the hard thing about having a home field advantage with fans is like, if you're not playing well, the fans are either going to turn against you, like boo you, or they're just going to be quiet. And at that point, that speaks louder than anything that New York fans could have said. So like, I think, it obviously probably had some effect, but it also probably helped Europe a lot, because again, if you're an underdog on the road, like knowing what you're up against is important. And I think they probably use that as fuel. So any other like big moments that stand out to you, storylines, like things that happened over the past weekend that just like you'll remember for a long time?
I just like I think the rough situation is interesting that we were talking about earlier, because I remember I played Torrey Pines, I think it was the week after they did the US Open there, and they still haven't cut the grass. Dude, it makes such a fucking big difference. I remember hitting like the best drive and it just like roll a couple feet off the fairway. Normally it'd be like a great position to the green. I go up and I can't barely even find my fucking ball in the rough, you know? And so that changes the game a lot. But beyond that, just fun match to watch, man. Super fun.
Yeah. Moments. I mean, I think Fleetwood and Rosie, I mean, that was such a fun matchup to watch. It's really hard to root against those guys. And I think perhaps, I agree with you on Lowry. Nobody enjoyed making that putt to seal the deal more than he did. I think that was really great for him. But I think we witnessed perhaps two turning points. One, passing of the torch to Rosie, perhaps as the next Euro captain, right? And then two, an impetus for the U.S. side to make some big changes, right? We saw some calls for, what the U.S. Olympic basketball team did to like change the ethos and not have one-off captains, like bring in Coach K or Mickelson said Lou Dobbs, right? Have some of these, somebody to come in and institutionalize the Ryder Cup the way the Europeans have done. And, whether that's Tiger or not, is a really interesting question and a debate to have. So like, if you think Tiger should be the captain, let us know in the comments. I personally don't think that's the best move for somebody to be like focused on building an empire here. But I do think somebody with a approach like Coach K could really do something interesting with the Ryder Cup team. So I'm looking at this, despite it being a loss, as a potential turning point for the Team US going forward.
Yeah. I don't know what, like, I think the worst. So I'm a St. Louis Cardinals fan, and the last 10 years have been really horrible because we've been really middling. So it's like, you don't get high draft picks. You don't build an incredible farm system. You're using resources to acquire big names. So you can still sell tickets and say that you're trying to compete, but we've just been stuck in neutral for a decade, right? The preceding decade was great. Went to multiple World Series, won 2 of them. Like, it was great, just not great now. And my worry is like every year we'd be bad enough to piss off fans, at which point there could be some sort of momentum to make a big change or have to think differently or be more creative or strategic or whatever. And then they'd like sneak in the playoffs and people get really excited about that. And then recency bias would dictate like the next year we would do the same thing. My biggest worry about us coming back on Sunday is that like I don't think they're going to feel the same need to make a bunch of drastic changes you're talking about, Cooper. Like, they need to. But then the second question is like, who will, right? Like, I don't think the PGA of America, like if they're looking at this right now, they're giving each other high fives. It was the most talked about sporting event. They sold a ton of commercials, so many commercials. They made a bunch of money and everything at site. And like at the end of the day, it's a success to them. And they're the ones who are responsible for making those changes. So like, I think we could definitely talk about what the changes are. And like, I think I like the ideas like, America has some really great coaches in different sports. Like, do you give like Popovich a chance to be a GM and like completely create a different culture? Like, those are really interesting ideas. I think the PGA America is just going to be like, well, we're going to lose in a different manner anyway, because we always do. And then we'll come back to Hazeltine. We'll probably win because, Jackson Coyven will be popping off and maybe Scotty will play better. So I hope I'm wrong, man. But like, as I look at this, like I think I want Europe to just like absolutely dominate for the next foreseeable future and just like embarrass Americans, because it's an embarrassing outcome for this team.
Yeah, I think that's interesting perspective for the future. The team development is one side. The fan engagement and like setup for the courses is another. We talked about the growing of the game. Some have called it the barstoolification of the event, right? I think Tron said we're past peak big letter hat, which is, great for everyone. But I think that the impact of the fans being loud and rowdy and having a different kind of decorum than we're used to in golf, many are saying for the worse, is really interesting. But you've got the Bryson fans there. You've got this, the schism with Liv. We've heard a lot from our partners about how big YouTube golf is and creator golf is and how that's going to have an impact on the professional game going forward. I want to ask Mike Fxnction, you are a golf creator now. You have a live stream and Birdie, like, what do
Right.
you think golf media looks like going forward into the future? And like, what impact does that have, not only for you and for creators, but on, the broader game of golf?
Man, I just think there's so much potential with it, because even if you don't love golf or you don't watch golf, if like the right person is playing golf, you're going to enjoy it and you're going to like enjoy what they have to say. It also is like the only sport that I can really think of that has the capacity to like be more than just a sport. You know what I mean? And so, for example, like with my birdie stream, like it started as just like, hey, I'm going to go golfing and people are going to watch me. And like, maybe I'll talk about some cool crypto stuff that I know, or maybe I'll talk about my experiences or whatever it might be. And now it's turning into like the idea of like, I'm taking it into into becoming an interview series. You know what I mean? Because I think playing 9 holes with interesting people and asking them the right questions, and drawing things out of them in a unique way in that situation is like really fun. Because when people are on the golf course, a lot of the times, I mean, maybe if you're not hitting the best shots, but most of the times they're pretty relaxed. It's like their zone where they don't have to think about business or work too much or their wife or whatever it might be. And so they get to be in like a really relaxed scenario. And so with the birdie stream, that's the direction I want to take it, because I think there's so much potential with combining golf content with things that people would already consume normally. Kind of like Hot Ones I was telling you guys before this call, like people watch Hot Ones interviews for the interview, but it's unique and different because they're put into a scenario that is a little higher pressure or different or just a little more uncomfortable than they normally would be. And I think this almost does the opposite effect. It puts them in a more comfortable position than they would normally be. And we get to go out and play 9 holes together. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think golf creators, I've been watching them for years now on like Instagram and stuff. There's one guy, I forgot what his name is, but the Long Drive King, I think he names himself, or no, off the deck. The kid he just hits it off the deck all the time.
I love that guy's post.
Driver off the deck, DOD King. That's what he calls himself. People like that have been creating golf content for a really long time, and I always find it interesting. I always stop to watch it. I specifically love the Instagram videos where it's bad golf content, and he's like, "Come watch me play 9 holes of terrible golf." Any of it can be like interesting, and I don't think I've seen anybody do interviews or relate it in a way that is consumable by mainstream culture that don't play golf. And so, long story short, like we've got some people lined up. I won't name names, but I will say that like if I could put a goal for like the entire stream, if I got to play golf with Donald Trump, play 9 holes and interview him, then we have been the most successful we could possibly be.
Sure. Yeah, I was thinking, Bryson's Breaking 50 series as kind of like an interesting analogy for it, right? You're going out there, and that's obviously Bryson's a pretty high level golfer, right? But you get to see some people he's playing with in a different light and different opportunity to do that. And I think that getting to see some of the behind the scenes personalities of some of these creators off the course, right? And maybe personality isn't necessarily the right word. We got to see Bryson hitting ping pong balls onto his, into a plastic cup for a week before the Ryder Cup. Like, how does that, I think impact the pro? Do you plan on playing with any pro golfers? Do you think more like people who aren't golfers first and just seeing how they perform or execute on the course with you?
I want to do a mix of all of it, man. I mean, I'll say this: next week we've got like a high level executive who we'll be playing golf with. I won't name names or anything, and that's probably more than I can already share, but it's going to be really fun. So it'll be a mix of like CEOs, crypto celebrities, hopefully like real life celebrities, like Hollywood celebrities as well. I would love to do professional golfers. I mean, one of the people on the top of my list is John Daly. Like, bro, if I could get on a 9 hole stream with John Daly, it wouldn't be 9 holes, it'd be 18. because we'd be just getting way too fucked up by hole number 8, you know.
Come to Nashville. He lives in an RV next to Old Hickory Country Club. Just knock on the RV door, you know.
Perfect. Exactly. And
have
so,
you noticed any differences in your game playing golf live on stream? Like, how does that, like when you're playing not on stream versus, you know, when you have the camera rolling, how does that affect your game?
I mean, the first few streams, it was just like getting comfortable with it, you know, like it was like a mix of like, oh, I haven't played in a year, so I'm a little rusty. Plus, like I'm playing in front of people that are watching, or maybe they're not watching. I didn't even really know. So it's like I have to manage talking to the camera. I have to manage hitting my shots. And usually when I'm playing golf alone or with like a group of people, like it's only me thinking about the next shot. You know, from the time I hit the shot to seeing where it ends up, I'm thinking about, okay, cool. Where am I positioning it? What club am I using? What's the wind? All the different things, you know. I played scratch when I was a scratch golfer when I was 15, 16. And so I'm definitely not there now. I'm probably like a 5 to 7 maybe. But long story short, like I analyzed the golf course a lot. And so the first few streams were a little distracting. And the last few were really fun because I brought my buddy Boom Dart on, JP. I actually met him on crypto Twitter. He's like, hey, why don't we go play golf on stream? And it became like an interaction between me and him rather than me and the camera. And it's like, A, produced way better content. B, he's a really good fucking player. Like he hit a 370-yard drive the other day we were playing, you know? And so it challenges me to be more competitive. I don't mind playing with people that are like worse than me or are shooting in the hundreds. Like it's fine. I like enjoy the game but when I play with someone who's good, like something else inside of me turns on. It's like, I got to play even better, you know? And so it's a different dynamic when you're playing with someone and we're both mic'd up and we're just having a conversation. Then we're just playing golf and just doing the normal thing. And so I've been enjoying that process, and that's kind of where this is all really evolving into.
So what have been some of the challenges? Like, you know, I see, it looks like you have a cameraman out there. What's the technical setup like? Like if somebody else, you know, wanted to get into streaming like this, how has that process been for you? Like, you know, what works and what doesn't?
Really depends on the course, to be honest with you, because like the service is what matters the most, you know. Like when we first went out, and we still bring it every single time just to be safe, but we have like our Starlink Mini with us, you know, and we have a big, huge like box this big that has like chargers and all the things, like won't die over 25-hour span, you know. And so we just would throw right where the basket is in the back of the golf cart, throw the Starlink on the back of that, you know, and just let it sit there. But some courses have great 5G, so we've just been honestly streaming 5G to it, get a couple clip mics on, and we're just rolling with the phone camera, and it looks fantastic at the moment. So
do any starters or other golfers give you like weird looks when you're loading all this stuff in, or you're on street, like, you know, cameraman on the course? Like that's always, it feels awkward for me whenever I'm trying to record something on a course. If there's other people out there, it's like, you know.
They do until I hit the first drive, and they're like, "Oh, okay, cool." Okay, the first stream we did, we went out and like I was like teeing it up from the back tees, you know. Like I have a cameraman out there, and the guy walks up. He's like, "Bro, it's like 7,600 yards from the back. You sure you're good enough to play from the back, you know?" And so I've got tattoos all over me, you know. I've got like a backwards hat on. The guy's like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" And then I smacked the first drive, and he looks at me, just like nods his head. "You're good to go, brother." You know? So sometimes a little bit. We've been actually just getting great responses from people. Like the cart girls always roll up, and they're always like, "Oh my God, are you guys streaming right now? Where are you streaming?" Like, "Oh, what? Where can I view you? Where can I follow you?" You know? And so it's unique, it's different, and it's fun. So no real issues with it per se.
Nice.
But
That's
definitely
awesome.
something to get used to. I definitely like the first few times. I'm like, is the starter going to get pissed or he's going to like ask a bunch of questions? But it usually ends up in him being like super friendly, to be honest with you.
Cool. That's great, man. And then this is a little bit different from regular streaming, right? For those of you who are watching, obviously Lynx is built on crypto, right? We have NFT based memberships, but you're not just like a regular streamer. This is on pump.fun, right? So like give us a little bit of background. Like, what does that mean for you, for the viewers, and like for how you think that could affect, content media, going forward?
Totally. I think it's a really unique experiment because the creator capital market is just like this thing that kind of formulated as an ideology a few months ago or 6 months ago or whatever. And it's like slowly evolved into the point where people are like coming to Pump Fun. And essentially the process is you have to create a token if you want to live stream. So we have the Birdie token, right? I think it's, if I'm being fully honest, I think it's a really, really cool experiment and a cool way to gamify like the meme coin industry, because so many people are just betting on memes that have no, like, they're only perceived value based upon like how big a meme is or like who holds the bundle, like there's so many different factors to these meme coins. I've spent the last 2 years in the trenches just clicking fucking 10K market cap coins trying to buy the right ones, so I get how that game works. This game is different because it's like you can bet on consistency. You can bet on things you like. You know what I mean? You can bet on creators who like you think will do well. And streaming is all brand new for me. So I'm getting to like learn that it's really partially about the streams, but it's also way more about the clips and who's clipping them and how often you're getting the clips. And so it's added a whole new dynamic to me as like someone who's always been interested in marketing, someone who's always been like kind of public facing. And it's also like not the only place that I'm going to be streaming. So Pump Fun is like the main core place. Birdie token is obviously the main core token to the project, but I'm going to be like dual streaming on Twitter. We're thinking about doing other platforms as well. And yeah, just like really thinking about this as it's evolved from being like, hey, let's make a creator token because it's really like popular right now. There's a lot of attention on it and it's something that I can do really well at, to being like, wow, this could go mainstream and become something even bigger. And maybe this is something that is one of those first things that Pump Fun streams gets like mainstream attention from. And so long story short, yeah, just building that out. It's been really fun. The Birdie token aspect is really interesting. It's always interesting to create something in crypto and put it into a community and an atmosphere and not have control over it. We went up crazy high day one and then like held it for a few hours and then down. And now it's like coming back up, and it's like people happy, people mad. You never really know. But the reality is I realized after day one, I was like, as long as I stay consistent with it and I keep doing it and we keep doing cool shit, like token should do well, hopefully. And if not, then like, at least we created something really, really cool, and we're still creating something really cool. But I think in terms of creator capital markets, consistency is the thing that matters. Creators that are showing up are going to earn more and have higher market caps and have people that believe in them. And like, it's really been cool to see that start to form with Birdie. Like I have a couple guys that just DM me all the time that are like, dude, when's the next stream? I love this clip. Like, whoa, good tee shot, and it makes me want to do it more and more and more. And so long story short, we're building this up to be fucking massive. I've got some really cool ideas. And next week's our biggest stream. I think the 9th or the 10th. I'll be announcing publicly on Twitter soon, but it's really going to be fun.
That's great. That's really cool. As you're traveling around, right, if you ever need anybody to play with, I'm sure a lot of the Lynx members are watching this. They're going to be hitting you up in those DMs. If you ever make it out to Philly, check our events page. I would love to have you out, Tree Farm or wherever else, as you're doing this. It seems like a really cool experiment and what you're building on. I want to pivot a little bit here and get your thoughts on the crypto markets more broadly. A lot of our followers are looking at that. Where are you? Bullish, bearish, sideways? It's commonly known as Uptober right now. Where do you think we're going? What's your biggest bag, going into Q4? What are you thinking?
I mean, Solana's my biggest bag. My goal is mostly just stack Solana and then stack long-term bets on meme coins if I believe in some, and then play short-term meme coins in order to stack more Solana. I think this is probably one of the more interesting cycles that I participated in because it's much more volatile. The micro sectors of the industry that people are betting on are way more volatile than they've ever been. Like last season, you could 2021, you could fucking buy an NFT. And yeah, you know it's going to be volatile. Maybe you bought it for fucking 10 SOL and it goes down to 5, but you can sit there for fucking 3 months, 4 months and not worry about it. Open up your wallet and it's going to be 50 SOL, you know, as long as like the project was doing anything. And so this is much different because the time frames are way different. I think that's the thing that I've struggled with the most is like, is this meme coin going to last 10 minutes, 10 hours, 10 days, 10 months? I don't know. And so in the broader scheme of things with Bitcoin and Solana, I just don't feel like we've had a top yet. Like, I don't feel like the parabolic nature is hit. I don't feel like everybody's super excited on the timeline and like Solana's $500 or $1,000 and everybody's screaming like they were when Solana went from 14 to 260. I remember it really, really well. And so I think we have more room. I think quarter 4 is going to be really interesting. Alan, aka the founder of Pump Fun, has been talking about quarter 4 being the most interesting quarter, and it's going to be big. And honestly, if I'm going to be honest, for the people who've been participating in crypto, I think it's about to be Stimmy season. And what I mean by that, it's airdrop season. Like I'm seeing more and more people talk about it. MetaMask airdrop they said they're coming soon. OpenSea. Pump Fun, all of these different things. I've been farming for Mystic, like all these different airdrops that are going to hit the ecosystem. And as soon as that happens, you know you've got like 2 or 3, maybe 4 more months of liquidity to like really hit some tops and flow into stuff.
Cool. Well, we'll be golfing the whole time. We know you will be too. It's going to be an interesting fourth quarter here. Little bit of time between now and the Masters, so Ryder Cup's over. We've got to wait, but still a lot of golf to be played. Leaves are starting to turn a little crisp in the air. I know you're in Colorado, but here in the Northeast,
I should have taken this call inside, man. I'm like, why did I sit up there? I'm cold.
Yeah, it's a good time to lock in, as they say.
100%. 100%. It's gonna be a fun few months. I think like the time into December and probably like January, maybe even a little bit into the next year or whatever. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I think there's like, what people forget is like when there's lulls or there isn't like a lot of exciting things happening. And don't get me wrong, there's Astra and all this crazy shit happening. But when like people become illiquid and it's still a bull market, there's usually something that happens that like changes that, whether it's a really, really big launch that everybody gets in on early, like Trump was. I mean, I didn't get in at all on that, sadly, but a lot of people got in early, I should say. Or whether it's like, I remember last season, it was the ENS airdrop, everybody who had bought like even one, I didn't even buy an ENS airdrop. I didn't even buy an ENS. Someone, and I won't repeat the name of the ENS on stream because it's extremely inappropriate. But someone bought it for me as a troll and sent it to my wallet. And one day I woke up and I was like, oh, I can claim $8,000 in ENS tokens because someone sent this inappropriate fucking ENS to my wallet. Great, thanks. Free money, so that's yet to really happen, especially on Solana. There have been a few, Magic Eden and a couple others over the last year, but I think airdrop season sets everything off to a new level.
Yep.
Sweet. All right. Well, Function, thank you so much for taking the time today. I know you're a busy man, so we really appreciate you coming in, and we will watch the streaming journey with much interest. Can't wait. It sounds like some really exciting stuff is on the way. So if you're listening, you're watching, and you're looking for more live golf to watch, especially now that we don't have the professionals for a while, definitely check out Function. Hit him up on Twitter. Hit him up over on Pump Fun. Is there any other place, Function, where people can find you or connect with you?
Yeah, it's really the easiest. Twitter, Pump Fun. If you want to just talk, just hit me up on Twitter. It's really the easiest. My DMs are open or request only, and I read the requests. So, yeah,
cool.
Play golf with anybody. It'd be fun.
Awesome. Yeah, let's make that happen for sure. Cooper, thanks for taking the time as well. And to everyone who's listening and watching, appreciate you tuning in. Remember, check out Hillcrest memberships, our Instagram and YouTube. where you can see updates on Hillcrest, sort of how the golf course is progressing, Spey Bay, how the golf course is progressing. Hit us up at Discord with guest ideas, hot takes, feedback, and make sure you follow the pod, leave a review, and we will see you next week. Appreciate it, everybody.
Thanks for having me, guys.